Hello friends, I am Kalpana CS from Bangalore. The purpose of this video is to make us seriously ponder about dignity in death. All of us are aware of the myriad problems faced by senior citizens in India. Chronic medical issues, physical disabilities, worries about financial stability due to inflation, unaffordable hospitalization costs, rising crimes against senior citizens, loneliness, depression and whatnot. So my question is whether the senior citizens should go through all these miseries passively, or can they exit from this world on their own terms with dignity if they want? If so, how can it be achieved? I have been thinking along these lines for quite some time, but the impulse to write a letter to the Prime Minister on this issue came from the recent verdict given by the High Court of Karnataka in respect of a petition by Srimati Karibasama of Davangere, in which the court ruled that the petitioner cannot be termed as a person who is terminally ill or is in a permanent vegetative state inasmuch as she does not require administration of euthanasia. Now, this is not enough. We have to address the real issue of all the senior and super senior citizens who are not terminally ill, but life is just a nightmare due to various other issues. So, let me read my letter to the PMO completely. Kindly listen to each and every point and give me a thumbs up if you agree with me. And you're most welcome to post your feedback and comments in the comment box. It is very important because the link to the video will also be forwarded to the PMO to indicate the strength of my plea. It will also give me an idea whether this is really acceptable to the society. So kindly comment or give a thumbs up for the issue if you agree with me. Honorable Prime Minister, at the outset, I wish to congratulate and thank the government for ushering in many reforms in different areas like education, health, public infrastructure and also many legislative reforms like Triple Talaq Bill, abrogation of Article 370, Citizenship Amendment Act, etc. in the recent past. This letter is an appeal for a common cause and not for the benefit of myself, although I would certainly wish to utilize the option sought herein after a few years. This is a plea for dignity in death for senior citizens who do not have terminal illnesses but are going through severe physical and mental agonies related to advancement of age and have no caretakers in the family. So I am aware that the subject of assisted dying is riddled with debates over morality, ethics, theology and raises profound questions for individuals and society. But I have been witnessing the plight of many senior and super senior citizens in my society who are simply waiting for the end with nothing to look forward to in life. Each passing day brings with it new insecurities, health issues, medical expenses, mental trauma and with no helping hand. The children are either too busy with their lives or have settled abroad, which is certainly not a crime. But it remains a fact that the aged population is a vulnerable section of the society which needs attention and dignity of life. There have been many petitions and court rulings in the last 2 decades like Common Cause versus Union of India 2018, CA Thomas Master versus Union of India 2000, Aruna Shanbag versus Union of India in 2011, etc., which indicate that there is a compelling need for legal legislation for the right to die a dignified death in the society. It is heartening to know that the right to die is increasingly being recognized and gaining social acceptance all over the world. There have also been steps taken to decriminalize suicide. UK's recent discussions on assisted dying got majority of votes from MPs to protect the vulnerable populations while honouring personal choices. But are the current provisions which primarily allow passive euthanasia address the issues of those who are neither able to lead life on their terms with dignity nor dare to attempt suicide? There is a huge section of the society which wishes to voluntarily choose the end of life circumstances in the absence of terminal illness, and their voices too need to be heard. In the case of Gyan Kaur versus State of Punjab, the court examined whether the right to die is included within the right to live under Article 21 of the Constitution. While it was upheld that the right to live does not include the right to die, the Honorable Supreme Court indicated the desirability of bringing about decriminalization of suicide by enacting a suitable law, providing therein adequate safeguards to prevent any possible abuse or misuse. I wish to place my plea on record with the PMO, and that the right to die as a voluntary option must be made available to the willing or voluntary senior and super senior citizens of the country who have completed all their familial duties. I appeal to the PMO to usher in suitable legislation for assisted self-willed deaths, even in the absence of terminal illnesses, in certain specific cases under specified circumstances, to avoid the misuse, which would greatly relieve the physical and mental sufferings of lakhs of aged population of India who are not able to lead a quality life. In fact, this is what the petitioner has begged the court in H.P. Karibasamma versus Union of India petition dated 26 September 2012. But it has been turned down by the court on the grounds that the petitioner has no terminal illness. With the increase in mortality rates, the average life expectancy of an Indian has increased from 51 years to 71 years over 2 decades, which is a favorable progress so long as the individual is fit and independent. It is projected that the number of senior citizens in India will increase to 17.3 crores in 2026. However, the reality is that the super senior citizens who live beyond 85 to 90 years of age have children who are already in their 60s or 70s. Quite often, such children are found to be suffering from many more illnesses, making it very difficult for them to attend to their parents. The situation also puts great financial and emotional stress on the families. Now, what is self-willed assisted death? Assisted self-willed death refers to a practice in which an individual receives help from a medical professional to end his or her life. This assistance could be in the form of a lethal medication that is self-administered by the individual. It requires voluntary consent, medical assistance, and legal validity. We may use the term self-willed assisted death and not suicide, since in this case, death is not sought to escape from the world's miseries, but is an effort to embrace death consciously on one's own terms after discharging one's worldly duties, thus making it an informed decision. Legislation on self-willed assisted death would provide a structured framework that respects individual autonomy while ensuring safeguards against potential misuse. The experiences from countries that have implemented similar laws demonstrate that such frameworks can operate effectively without compromising on ethical issues. Recently, several countries like Spain, Austria, New Zealand, Colombia, Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg have legalized assisted suicide and euthanasia. In fact, almost 5% of the number of deaths in Netherlands is due to euthanasia. Article 115 of Swiss Penal Code allows assisted suicide, and Switzerland has allowed this since 1942. There are non-profit organizations like Dignitas and Exit which facilitate such deaths in Switzerland. In USA, 11 states allow physician-assisted dying. Why is this an important need for a country like India? At the macro level, it addresses many demographic issues and helps in optimization of available resources in the country. With India's rapidly aging population, which is projected to reach 300 million by 2030, there is an urgent need to address the unique challenges faced by senior citizens. Many seniors are not financially or emotionally equipped to handle health emergencies on their own after a certain age, due to which they attempt suicide. Suicide rate among elderly has risen significantly, and a study in 2009 has reported that chronic illnesses, family issues, loneliness, financial loss are some of the major causes. But if they fail in suicide attempt, they face physical injuries, mental trauma and social stigma. The senior citizens who opt for assisted dying can very well plan their own financial commitments, make nominations, give away gifts, execute will and inheritances while they are alive, and make an exit with complete peace of mind. This will certainly reduce the confusions and legal battles within families after the demise of parents. Finally, life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. The quote by Viktor Frankl, an Austrian neurologist, psychologist and a philosopher, sums up the lives of many seniors who are only existing and waiting for the end. My humble suggestions and measures to prevent misuse of this option are: the option of right to die may be made available to all willing senior and super senior citizens above 75 years of age with no perceived purpose of life. He, she or both are of sound mind and apply for it voluntarily through an attorney and by keeping all the kith and kin in the loop of information. He, she or both are not strong enough to manage their daily routine on their own. He, she or both are suffering from chronic ailments severely affecting the quality of life or diseases without a possible cure or ailments requiring huge financial burden. He, she or both do not have any unfinished primary responsibility towards either children or disabled children, siblings or disabled siblings or parents. He, she or both do not have any financial commitments or debts towards any person or persons, agencies, both government and private, and financial institutions. He, she or both have no legal cases pending in any court of law or any FIR registered against them. He, she or both have executed and registered a will in the presence of an attorney. The date of death must be booked at least 1 to 2 years before or within a stipulated time frame, so that the optee has sufficient time to withdraw the application in case of change of mind, which will also provide time for proper scrutiny of the application. He, she or both must be made to undergo relevant physical and psychological tests for certification regarding the physical, mental and emotional condition by a panel of medical experts and psychological practitioners and counselors. The above steps could, to a great extent, prevent the possibilities of misuse. However, the possibility of misuse should not be a deterrent for a social reform like this, since the practices of abortion, sex determination and others also came with a host of problems. Proper checks and balances may be put in place to make them work. Coming to the ethical issues, I wish to add that in Mahabharata, wasn't there an option or boon for Ichha Marana, and Bhishma was one such beneficiary? Wasn't the concept of Vanaprastha also prevalent in ancient India, in which the senior citizens used to retire into forest and leave the world with dignity? Wasn't there a popular practice of fatal pilgrimage by senior citizens, an act of drowning oneself at Prayag to escape from the cycles of birth and death? According to Manu, only a retired king and an ascetic are eligible to kill themselves, and he has even described the rituals for Mahaprasthana. Departure with detachment and renunciation in old age have always been upheld in India. Within the Jaina tradition too, the ideal and the most celebrated death is a voluntary and fully conscious fast. The fear of suffering in old age is one of the main worries for all human beings, which takes away the pleasure of living in the present moment. Who wouldn't want to die on a day of his choice, surrounded by loved ones and with a smile of satisfaction on his face? Legislation allowing physician-assisted deaths could certainly alleviate prolonged suffering and provide peace of mind, since it enables better control over end-of-life decisions. This step would not only set an example to the world but also reflect India's commitment to human rights and dignity in true sense. I personally feel that compulsion to live is also a violation of human rights. I therefore urge the Honorable Prime Minister to include the right to die under Article 21 of the Constitution and initiate necessary legal framework to ensure dignity in death for the senior citizens who are willing to embrace death after completion of a fruitful life. Thanks and regards.